everyone. Welcome to the One More Thought podcast. Today, I'm your host. My name is Paige. I'm one of the pastors here at Church on the Rock. And this is a very special episode.
It really is.
It really is, because we are celebrating the church's 40th anniversary. So let me start by saying congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Paige.
If you guys were here at any of our services yesterday, you know we had quite the party. And Pastor Jackie also shared a really powerful message. And as I was thinking about what we should do for this episode, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna ask Pastor Jackie. People always say, is it weird to call you Pastor Jackie because you're my dad? So I kind of like go back and forth. So I'm just gonna say that. So
okay.
I thought I'm gonna have my dad come on and ask him to simply share 3 stories when he looks back at the history of Church on the Rock. Like, maybe it's a pivotal moment. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. Was when I asked you that, was it easy to immediately
There's
decide?
There's so many stories, and I've told some of these stories over and over again. But I really thought about the 3 most important, most significant situations, the moments in my life that led Church on the Rock to become the church that it is.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm going to share about.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear. All right. Well, I'm going to tell me about number 1, the first one that comes to mind.
I'm going to go all the way back to the start. In fact, before the beginning of Church on the Rock, as many people know, I was on staff at Trinity Church for 10 years. A great church, had a wonderful experience there. And it was while I was on that staff in August of 1984. Okay. I was leading and introducing a small group ministry to the church. And we had the opportunity to take a lot of our small group leaders, potential leaders, to a conference in Seoul, South Korea. I'd been introduced to Dr. Cho's church, which at that time was the largest church in the world. I think it probably still is, but they had over 750,000 members in this one local church, and it was all because of their small group ministry.
So 750,000.
750,000.
Okay.
They had huge buildings. They had video campuses, video buildings before that was even a thing.
Right.
And they could service like 40,000 people in a service at one time, and they did 7 services on Sunday. But even at that rate, Dr. Cho said, he told his folks, if you remember this church, you come once a month to the church, but you go every week to your cell group, your small group. And so we were going for a conference to learn about cell group ministry. I'd been blessed to have a relationship with a gentleman by the name of Larry Lee. He was the founding pastor of the original Church on the Rock in Rockwall, Texas. And he was going to be there at that conference. He was going to be one of the speakers. He invited me to go. So we took about 20 people with us from Lubbock, from Trinity Church, to that conference. We thought it was going to be all about the small group ministry. But when we got over there, Dr. Cho kind of pulled a switch, a bait and switch with us. He got up and he said, the reason our church has grown, yes, the cell group ministry is part of the impact of our church, but he said the reason our church has grown is because of the spirit of prayer and the place of prayer, the priority of prayer that we have here at our church. And it just began to stir in my heart. It was really changing a lot of things inside of me. I'd been in ministry for close to 10 years, and I prayed, but I really didn't have the kind of prayer life he was talking about. Every week at that church, they had all-night prayer. Friday evenings, they would begin at 10 p.m. and go until 6 a.m. the next morning, praying throughout the night. And I thought, man, that's crazy. How many people are going to show up to pray all night long?
Wow.
But when I got to that meeting, we went to that meeting. I went myself. Linda didn't go. She was pregnant with Kelsey at the time. She stayed at the hotel. But when I got there, they ushered us up into a section of the balcony where we had headphones where we could hear the translators. And I looked, and the place was packed. Now, the room where they had prayer held about 10,000 people. And I'd never been in a prayer meeting like that. The Koreans are all very vocal when they pray. They all pray out loud. They get a lot of them get into this rocking motion with their body. I mean, they're fully engaged.
Yeah.
And Dr. Cho would lead the prayer, and the prayer would be so loud, people praying so loud that he had a bell that he would ring to get the people to get quiet so he could introduce the next session of prayer. And they prayed for families, they prayed for their government, their nation, their church, all these different things. But there came a time in the night where he said, I want to introduce our guests from the United States. And there were about 350 people there. And he said, I want them to stand up. And we were all in the balcony, and I was on the very front row. And I remember standing up and looking out over that crowd. And he said, I want all of the members I want you to turn to the balcony, hold your hand out to these visitors, and I want you to start praying over them. And when they did that, with that loud vocal prayer, words that I didn't understand, they were praying either in tongues or in Korean, I don't know. But I'd heard it described like this by another person. It was almost like the crashing of a waterfall. Just hit. I mean, the sound was so loud. And I remember standing there, and I heard the voice of the Lord, and he said, what do you see? And I said, Lord, I just see a sea of people praying. And he said, I want you to go home, and I want you to raise up a church that has the foundation of prayer, a church like this church. And it rocked my world. I knew it was God. I knew it was the Lord. I went back and shared it with Linda, and 16 months later is when we launched Church on the Rock in our home with about 15 people. So it was far different from a crowd of 10,000, but that was kind of the bedrock of our church, prayer. And you know this, and I've told this many times, that probably for the first 25 years of the church, I led prayer every morning, Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock for 1 hour, from 6 to 7. And we prayed day after day after day. And I think that's part of God's blessing on the church, is that we were very intentional about setting a solid foundation of prayer.
I agree. I think just when I look back at your faithfulness, but also the church's commitment to I think people just need to let that soak in for a minute. Every day, every Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. For 25 years.
Yeah.
You led prayer.
That leads me into the second story.
Okay. I want to hear the second story.
The teaching, or the one thing that stuck with me at listening to Dr. Cho speak, and he's gone to be with the Lord now several years ago, but someone said, how do you build a great church like this? And he said, it's very simple. He said, you pray and you obey. And that always stuck with me. And that became part of the process of building Church on the Rock. My second story, I've shared this many, many times, but it's about the beginning of the Dream Center. The Dream Center was just a thought, something that I'd heard about. I had heard about the Dream Center in Los Angeles that Tommy Barnett had begun with his son Matthew. But we were prepared. The church was growing. We were out here at the campus on Slide Road. We were preparing to build a new worship center. We were out of room. We were doing multiple services. And we were working with the architects. We had a plan together. We had designed a campaign to raise the money. And just as we were beginning to present that to the congregation, about 2 weeks before, we had all the printed material ready, about to launch that campaign. I had such an uneasiness in my spirit. And I shared with the elders of our church, I said, I have no peace about us building this building right now. And again, the elders said, well, go away and pray. You pray, come back, tell us what the Lord's saying. We want to pray and obey. And so that's what I did. And during that prayer time, the Lord made it very clear to me. He said, you can build this church. You can build a new worship center that'll hold 1,000 people. And he said, but basically what you're doing is you're raising up a church that has a consumer mentality. They're going to come, and you're going to be the center of attention. You're going to be on the platform every week, and you're going to have a crowd for you to build your ministry around. But he said, that's not what I want you to do. He said, I want you to raise up a people that understand that they can minister, that they can serve people, that they can make a difference. And he said, you build the Dream Center, and this is what he said. He said, find a part of your city where there's only darkness and take the light of the kingdom into that part of the city and make a difference. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
That was our directive as we began the Dream Center. And now, all these years later, we see the impact of the Dream Center.
Right. I had someone ask me, I don't even know, not that long ago, but they just said, what do you think is behind the success of COTR? And of course, there's so many ways you can answer that. I talked to them about prayer. I talked to them about our amazing team. But what came out of my lips was what I see, though, when I look back, because I've been here all 40 years, is there was a real shift that happened when we started the Dream Center without us even realizing that's what was happening, you know? But I think it was one more thing that realigned our priorities with God's priorities. And so then the favor of God really, he just blessed us so much because we were willing to pray and obey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I heard Tommy Barnett say this. I have these little quotes, Dr. Cho, pray and obey.
Right.
Tommy Barnett said, when you minister and love the people that no one wants in their church, God will send you the people that everybody wants in their church. And we've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And not that we didn't already have great people in our church, but man, the multitude of new people who have come into the church since the Dream Center was launched have changed this church and made us something totally different.
Yeah.
At the time, I can even go back and show you the numbers. At the time that we began to launch the ministry of the Dream Center, we had an average attendance each week of about 800 people. And in a short period of time, that had quadrupled to 3,000. And I think that's just the blessing of the Lord. And God saying, I really like what you're doing.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so those are two stories. I'm curious, what's your third one?
Well, the third one is it really is personal to me.
Okay.
But you're right. When we launched the Dream Center, things really began to change. I realized that I didn't understand. I didn't know how large the worship would become on Sunday would become at the Dream Center. But we quickly ran out of room, and I realized that people here in West Texas. This was back in 2015, along in that period. 10 years ago, people weren't ready for a video campus.
Right.
We didn't have the equipment for a video campus. And the Lord had been dealing with me personally. He had been telling me that I had to loosen the control, that I was a control freak, and he said, you need to open your hands and give up control of this church and turn it over to other people, raise up other people to minister. And that was the start of us beginning what has become our communication team. And in the early days, I had a lot of insecurities, and it led me to do things in a certain way. I was still writing all the sermons. Whoever was preaching at the Dream Center, I would share the sermon with them during the week and say, I want you to preach it like this. But slowly we began to develop not just one or two people, but an entire team of communicators. And what's amazing is I look back at that time at the people that God added to our staff.
Right.
Pastor Josh, Pastor Rick. You began to speak more and more. Pastor Heath. All of these people started growing in their communication abilities. And I look back and I realize that's part of the uniqueness of Church on the Rock. People when we first started, it was really interesting. People would call the church and they would say, hey, who's preaching at the Dream Center this week?
Yes.
Who's preaching at the South Campus? But no one even thinks about who's speaking on Sunday. They realize we have a great team. We have a great group of communicators. The sermon is always going to be the same, but it's going to have a different flavor because it's being preached from a different personality or perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of our uniqueness at Church on the Rock.
And I think it models something, don't you think, for people, that the truth that God can and will work through all different types of personalities,
right,
all different types of backgrounds. Like, he really, when it says that, especially those of us in ministry, we're called to equip the saints for the work of ministry. It's almost just this picture of we're going to do it here, but we want to do it we want to see that happen in your life as well,
think of how many times, and I'm not trying to be critical of anyone that does this, but so many times we talk about a church and we'll call it the church and we'll use the pastor's name.
Right.
Well, that's so-and-so's church. That's and the pastor, if they're the only one that is in the pulpit, if they're the dominating voice, and there's not a multiple group of people, that pastor, people begin to look to him more and more and more, and I don't think that's healthy.
Right.
I don't think, in fact, I think we've seen a lot of destruction come to churches because pastors are put in an impossible place.
Right.
Because people are idolizing them or looking to them for the answers instead of looking to God. So I think this is an important part of Church on the Rock.
I think so too. Well, those are 3 good stories. I liked it.
I hope people enjoy those stories.
I know they will.
Those are 3 very impactful moments in my life.
What, I didn't prepare you for this, but I would just love to know, what are you hopeful for the future of Church on the Rock?
I think we're at the best place we've ever been. I'm just going to declare this. I'm already seeing revival at Church on the Rock among young people. We've seen God build a church that is a multi-church, multi-campus, multi-racial, multicultural, but also multi-generational. And I am so excited about what I see happening in the young adults of our church. There's an excitement. There's a love for God. There's an exuberant when they worship. They're exuberant in their expression. I am so excited about that. I think we're just on the very cusp of seeing a phenomenal revival among our young people.
I think so too. It's exciting.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing some stories.
Thank you. This has been a joy.
It has. It's been great. Well, I just want to say, everyone watching, thank you for watching this week's episode of the One More Thought podcast, and we will see you back next week.